We're going to take a look at dividing fractions. So there's three things here you need to remember. So the first thing is that we're going to keep, okay, so we're going to actually keep this first fraction as it is. So 3/7 here, it's going to stay as 3/7. So I'm going to write that down now. Just keep it as it is, 3/7. Then we're going to change. So we change our divide sign to a multiply sign. And the third thing is to flip. So we're going to take this final fraction, the 2/3, and we're going to flip it over and make it 3/2. Now, if you've already watched my video on multiplying fractions, you should know what to do here. So you multiply straight across the top. 3 times by 3 is 9. And then multiply across the bottom. 7 times by 2 is 14. And you've got your answer, 9/14. You should simplify that if you can, but in this case, 9, 14 don't divide by anything, so that is your final answer. So the 3 points are to keep your first fraction as is, it's 3/7, change your divide to a multiply, and finally flip your second fraction. Then you just multiply across the top, multiply across the bottom, get your two new answers, and then simplify if you can. Now, if you want to have a go using those 3 steps there to keep, change, and flip at the next fraction, and then in a few moments, if you unpause the video, then I will work through it with you. Alright, our second fraction then. So remember, keep. So we're going to keep this first fraction as it is. It's 1/10. Change. We're going to change our divide to a multiply. And finally, flip. We're going to flip this to 15/3. Okay, multiply across the top. 1 times 15 is 15. Multiply across the bottom. 10 times 3 is 30. Now this we can simplify. Both of these divide by 15. So 15 divided by 15 is 1, and 30 divided by 15 is 2, so our answer is 1/2. We'll take a look at some exam type questions here. So the first one here is work out 9/11 divided by 6/7. So remember your 3 rules. First one we keep, then we change our symbol, and then we flip. So keep, change, flip. Okay, so you can work through that yourself now, and then unpause the video and check whether you've got it right. Alright, so keep. So 9/11 we're going to keep. The divide we're going to change. And the second fraction we're going to flip, so it's going to be 7/6. Okay, then we just need to multiply across the top. 9 times by 7 is 63. Multiply across the bottom. 6 times by 11 is 66. Both of those will divide, so we'll start off by dividing by 3. So 3 into 63 goes 21 times. And 3 into 66 goes 22 times. There's nothing going to divide into both of those. 21 only divides by 3 and 7, and 22 doesn't divide by 3 or 7. So it is 21/22 is your final answer. Now again, if you've watched my video on multiplication, you will have seen this before. We have a mixed number. So the first thing we're going to do to answer this question is we need to deal with this mixed number and change it into a top-heavy fraction. So in order to do that, we multiply the 2 by the 4, which is 8. And 8 plus that 1 at the top is 9. So this first fraction is actually 9/4, 9/4. So we're going to keep that there as it is. We're now going to change our divide to a multiply. And then we're going to flip our second fraction. So that's going to be 5/3. Multiply across the top. 9 times by 5 is 45. And 4 times by 3 is 12. Now we've ended up with a top heavy fraction here, so we need to try and change this back to a mixed number. So I'm going to ask myself now, how many times does 12 go into 45? Well, 12 threes is 36. And 45, take away 36, means we have a remainder of 9. So there'd be 9/12 left over. Now 9/12 can be simplified, so that's going to be 3, and if I divide both of those by 3, 3 into 9 goes 3 times, 3 into 12 goes 4 times, so it's going to be 3 3/4 is your final answer. Our final question here, so again, if you've watched the multiplying fractions video, you'll be familiar with this kind of question. First thing we need to do is change that 5 to a fraction. So 5 is the same as 5/1. So that is the same, and we're going to keep it the same. Now you can work through the rest of this question yourself if you want, or you can pause the video and you can try it yourself and then unpause the video and work through it with me and see whether you've got it right. So we've got our 5/1, that's going to stay. Okay, then we're going to change our divide to a multiply. We're going to flip our second fraction, so it's going to be 4/3. And then we're going to multiply across the top. So 5 times by 4 is 20. 3 times by 1 is 3. Top heavy fraction. So we're going to need to change this into a mixed number. So how many times does 3 go into 20? That's what we need to ask yourself. Well, 3 6s are 18, so it goes in 6 times. 20 take away 18, so there's a remainder of 2. And that's over 3. So 6 2/3 is our final answer. So just remember, whenever you're dividing fractions, that the first fraction stays the same. Okay, the second part that we do is we change the divide to a multiply, and then we flip our second fraction over. So remember those 3 points whenever you're dividing fractions.